Good morning. Good morning. It seems, I guess, somewhat fitting that a retailer would come to speak to this group during our most busy time of the year. It wouldn't be like a retailer to make a speech without doing a little bit of a promotion. So Kim is handing out some gift cards that I brought along for everybody to get you into the stores. Probably, if you're like me, you put off to the last minute your Christmas shopping. Maybe this will help a little bit. They're all $10, but there's one or two in there that are worth a little bit more. So, that'll be your little teaser to get out to the stores and do your Christmas shopping with Bell. You know, our company's been around for 99 years. 99 years. Started in Palmetto, Florida. But today I want to bring you kind of through the first 99 years, kind of give you a little bit of sense of where we're at today and what some of the challenges are as we look into the future. So I need that little, where's the, here. So, our business was formed, as I said, in 1915, but the story starts a little bit before then. Our founder is Bob Bell's grandfather, Robert M. Bell Sr. We call him Papa Bell. And his family ran a provisioning business in Georgia. Of course, provisioners were supported the agricultural business and provided farmers with seeds and supplies and so on to get their crops in the field. And they did it on credit. So it was all lent until the crops came in and at harvest time, and that's when the provisioners got paid back. And unfortunately, the boll weevil came in and ruined the cotton crop in Georgia over a couple of years, and the provisioning business was ruined. Simply because the farmers couldn't pay back the money that they borrowed to put the crops in the ground. Hiram Bell Sr. then migrated to Palmetto, Florida, and went to work for his uncle in a small department store called the Globe. And I think didn't like his uncle as much as he thought he would, and so decided to start his own business, and he called it the Dollar Limit. It was in Bradenton. This was before there was even a bridge over the Manatee River. So the ferry boat went back and forth between Palmetto and Bradenton, and he built his store, he rented a store right there where the ferry boat dropped off. And of course, that's kind of been what we still do today. We try and find the best traffic spots and open stores there. And so, as you can see, that started way back when. During the 1920s, was quite a time in the United States and quite a time in Florida. The railroads were bursting through. People were discovering the great gifts of the state of Florida, and businesses were prospering. And so the dollar limit really, really prospered during the Roaring '20s. In fact, inflation kicked in, and he had to change the name from dollar limit to $5 limit because prices went up. This is a picture of our first store. It's the one to the left next to Paul O'Connell's drugstore. This is where he moved his store about a year later onto Manatee Avenue. Boy, it's moving now. I've got to figure out how to stop it. This is an ad, and I thought this was interesting. This is when ready-to-wear first came in. The form waist. How do I stop this from moving? Where's my guy? Oh, I've done it now. Well, okay, I'll try and move along with the slides. One of the things that R.M. Bell Sr. did is he borrowed some money to increase inventories for holiday. And we still do that to some degree today. You need more inventory for your peak season, and that's what he did, but he got caught short in 1929 during the Great Depression. He lost the business in a foreclosure, but the bank understood, I'm sure there's some bankers in this room, that they weren't going to get their money out of retail business that they knew nothing about running. So they hired him back as a store manager. And he worked in that store as a store manager for 12 years, saving every dime he could to ultimately regain control of the store back from the bank. So this is kind of the first lesson in our history, the boll weevil and the Great Depression. He lost his business, his family lost his business as a lender in the provisioning business. He lost his business as a borrower in the retail business. And it kind of, gives credence to that old saying, never a borrower or lender be. And our business today still holds true to that lesson, and that is we grow our business by reinvesting our profits, not by taking on risky leverage, not by borrowing from the bank. This is how downtown Bradenton kind of developed, and you can see it's the $5 limits sign there in the background. E.R. Bell joined the business in the end of the 1940s. There's a picture of him. He joined his father, and they changed the name from the $5 limit to Bell's Department Store. And E.R. Bell was the kind of guy who, and it's probably typical, is you hand a business from generation to generation. The younger guys have different ideas than the senior people, and so E.R. argued a lot with his dad. His dad was this consummate civic guy, loved being involved in the Bradenton community. Was the kind of guy who liked to, like Jimmy Stewart, walk the deposit down to the bank every day and sit with a banker and talk business and talk about what was going on in the community. E.R. Bell was the guy who, not like his father, he wanted to grow that business. I think he was the kind of guy that felt that he had to spend one more day in that downtown Bradenton store. He was going to go crazy. So he formed a relationship with Joe Blanton, who was then running Publix for George Jenkins. They were starting into the shopping center development business. Prior to that time, retailing and most commerce was done in the downtown corridors, but with shopping centers, they were moving out into the outskirts of towns. And at that time, the outskirts of Bradenton was 39th and Manatee. It was all orange groves beyond that. Manatee was a two-lane road, and Mr. George and Joe Blanton built a public shopping center right there at 39th and Manatee. It's called the Westgate Center, and we opened our first store other than the downtown store there. There's E.R. Bell's picture, a great guy. I'm very fortunate to have worked with him for a little bit in the early part of my career. This is what E.R. Bell wanted to do. He wanted to modernize the store, fluorescent lighting, air conditioning, make it a nicer place to shop. And that's what the store looked like before we moved out to Manatee and opened our second store. But I want to tell you a little bit about R.M. Sr. He was a civic guy, as I mentioned. He was very involved in bringing the Pittsburgh Pirates to Bradenton. Of course, Pirates and Bradenton have one of the greatest relationships amongst the major league teams. Sarasota certainly learned its lesson from all the teams that have been here over the past several years. He was a founding member of Bradenton Kiwanis. I think many of you may know that Bradenton Kiwanis is one of the most prolific Kiwanis clubs in the world, and helped start Camp Flying Eagle for the Boy Scouts there in East Manatee County. And Bob Bell decided to honor his grandfather and his grandfather's charitable and civic leanings with the R.M. Bell Sr. Charitable Foundation. It was in 1987 when we finally sold that downtown store. It was the $5 limit. We sold it to the Manatee County. They built their big administration building right there in downtown Bradenton. And with the proceeds of that sale, we formed the R.M. Bell Sr. Foundation. Since its inception, it's funded $3+ million in scholarships for 780 kids. These are college scholarships. So very proud of that. But E.R. Bell was the guy, as I said, that wanted to grow. He opened a bunch of more stores after that first one was opened, all funded with reinvested profits, all in small towns on Florida's west coast, all in public centers, and some, of course, with Eckerd's. We knew that if the customers were coming to buy their groceries and their drugs, that they'd also stop by our store. In '69, we opened our first distribution center. It wasn't much of a distribution center. It was just a small building right down from Dan Callahan's place in Bradenton. And this is our new Port Ritchie store. You can see there the Publix with its wings there in the background. But a typical of one of our towns and typical one of our stores in that period of time. Bob Bell joined the business in 1969, and Bob was the guy who modernized the business even further. He joined the company as a store manager in Dunedin. His father said, you know, look, you're not just going to come to work for our company. You've got to earn your way in, and he required him to get an MBA, which he did from NYU, and then work for another retailer, which was Bloomingdale's, for a couple of years in New York before he was able to join the business. And when he came back, he had to start from the bottom.